been anticipating this call with Adam for over a week, even two for now. I wanted to give a special thanks to the amazing work that Leah has done during this entire week. She has been posting non-stop and she has reached out all 74 members of our community in record time to let them all know about this amazing call that we're going to have today. Um, um, First of all, also I want to thank Aran for being here. I know we had like a problem with the scheduling hour and everything. It went kind of crazy. It's like in America they are changing the hours so much. We don't change hours here in Indonesia. It's just like very chill, very cool in Bali. We just have the same hour all year round. But anyways, so without further ado, I want to bring Adam to the stage and basically allow him to give us this amazing gift that he's bringing to us today. So go ahead, brother.
Thank you, Scott. I appreciate it. And I'm in Canada, but yeah, I still agree. We're crazy with our time changing and all that. I wish we didn't change our time in full transparency. So, I want to go deep into a lot of incredible things today. And before I just dive right in, I just want to start off with saying something. To everyone on this call, this work has the ability to change everything in your life. Quite literally everything. Like this call could change the trajectory of your life. Now, the reason I say that is because I want you to take it seriously. If you hear something that you resonate with on this call, take a moment to write it down. Actually become one with the idea. Because I'll tell you right now, that is when sustainable change happens. Okay. So a lot of people will come to calls like this and they'll get motivated and they'll start acting different for a week, maybe 2 weeks, and then they go back to their same way of operating. What we're going to do today is actually change what your baseline state of operating is. I actually want you to rewire who you are on this call right now, here today. So I want you to take it seriously. I want you to be present. As I said, if you hear something you resonate with, write it down and be willing to face yourself. It's awesome what Scott's built here, a group, a community full of people who are ready to face themselves. You can't be in personal development without actually willing to be able to face yourself. So I love that this group right here should be able to take this and actually completely change their lives with it. So I'll tell you a little bit about me and my story, not only so you know who's on the other side of the call here, but also so you can see how this work applies to your life. Because this work changed everything in my life. So I was really young when I got into real estate. And I don't know if anyone's felt this way before. I was one of those people who believed that hard work is what produced results. And so I was working hard. Like, trust me, very hard. I got obsessed with the grind and hustle culture. I don't know if anyone's been there before, because I thought I was working my way to some form of freedom that was in the future. If I hustled hard enough now, someday I'd be able to be free. And no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't seem to really see that breakthrough in results. I'd actually, experienced little changes, but I wasn't really seeing that big breakthrough that I wanted. And I'm sure there's someone who's felt this way before. I was working hard, unable to change my results. And when I would look around, I was in real estate at the time, there were other people in my office who would produce 10x the results that I would effortlessly. It was frustrating. Why were some people so effortlessly able to produce the results I just died for? And I was putting everything on the line and couldn't even get halfway there. Like, what's that about? Now, shortly into my real estate career, honestly, thank God this happened. I had a Bob Proctor coach come in and speak to our office. Has anyone ever heard of Bob Proctor before? Yeah.
Well, I definitely have heard about him.
Yeah. One of the gods of the manifestation personal development world, godfathers, I would say. I had the ability to work under him for a little bit before he unfortunately passed away about 6 or 7 years ago. But I had a Bob Proctor coach come and speak to my office, and I'm going to be super transparent with everyone here. When I heard that someone was coming to teach us about mindset and manifestation, at the time, I wasn't into this work. I didn't know what it was. I thought it was woo woo. I was like, should I go? This is weird. I don't know about it. And then this coach walked in. I ended up going to the meeting, and I'm so happy I did. Changed everything in my life. So I'm sitting in this boardroom full of realtors, I'm sitting there in a suit, okay? And this coach walks in, and she kind of just glances around the room, and she locks eyes right with me. She says, "Tell me what you want, and I'll show you how to get it." Really? Wow. Okay. And for me, again, I didn't know how I felt about it. So I thought that was a wild claim. I'm going to be very honest with you. I thought it was wild. How could someone ever say that? And she looked around and she said it again. "Tell me what you want, and I'll show you how to get it." Now, although I thought it was a wild claim, she said it with so much conviction. Because it was a pretty cool idea, I was hooked. I wanted to hear more. How could she show me how to get whatever I wanted? How does that make any sense? Tell me more. I want to learn more. And so this is why I said be open-minded. All that did for me was had me be open-minded enough to sit with the ideas in a way that I hadn't before. And as she spoke, I started to open up a little more and a little more. And she was explaining like the exact reason as to why I couldn't change my results, no matter how hard I worked. She explained the paradigm. She explained our programming. She explained our nervous system's actual level that it's set to, all of these different things. And it was opening me up. It was making me face myself. For the first time in my entire life, I could see blatantly the very narratives that were holding me back. And I knew that it was all internal. Now, at the end of that training, she did a guided visualization. I'm sure some people in here have done that. Guided visualization. At the time, I'd never done it before. And so she put on some meditation music. I closed my eyes. I felt a little bit awkward, but I allowed myself to relax into it. And I saw my dream life so clearly that day that I started to cry. So I'm sitting in this boardroom full of realtors, actually crying. Like I'm wearing a gray suit. You could see the tear marks on my suit. I was probably the youngest one in the room by 10 years, sitting there crying. And something shifted in me that day. Because two things happened. First of all, I realized that anything was possible. That dream life had to exist. If I could see it, feel it, touch it, taste it so clearly, there had to be some life, some world where I was experiencing it. It had to exist. The second thing that happened was that I realized that day that I can go into my mind and experience that at any point. And that can be my guiding compass, no matter how hard things get. Now, I'll be open with you. As soon as that meeting ended, I went right to the coach. I said, "Tell me what it takes. I want to work with you." She told me her program price, and I said, "I don't have the money." I later found out it had nothing to do with money and everything to do with how I make decisions, which I think everyone should sit with. But I thought I didn't have the money. So what I did was I said, I'm going to do it all on my own. And I got Think and Grow Rich was the book she recommended. I, went out and did the inner work and the outer work. I was hustling outside and I was trying to hustle the inner work. You can't hustle the inner work. That's not how it works. But that's what I was trying to do. I read the book 3 times front to back. I was trying so hard and the same thing kept happening. Little changes in results, little changes internally, actually, but still not the same breakthrough. This is why I said it has nothing to do with money. 8 months later, I went back to her. I said, I don't care what it takes, do whatever. Payment plans on a credit card, like whatever it takes, I need to get in the room with this person. The first time I actually paid for high ticket coaching, I had about half the amount of what the program costs in my account. So I didn't even have the amount of money. I did a payment plan, put the first payment or two on a credit card, had no clue how I was paying it off, and just did everything I could to make it work. And in the next 8 months, I had tripled my income. This was the start of me in this work. What tripled my income was all internal. It's all we worked on, only internal stuff. And then when we went forward, like from there, I ended up going on to sell over $100 million worth of real estate before the age of 25 using this work. I ended up building a software company from the ground up, from nothing. And I started my coaching company. Literally closed down everything I'd ever done in the past because I got to a point where I felt in my bones I was meant to help people change their life in the same way that I had changed mine. And it took me 9 months to go from zero in the coaching company, from just starting it, to doing $100,000 months, cash collected, $100,000 months with over 94% profit margins. And we've only grown from there. Our current goal is $500,000 months. And we're working towards that. Okay. So I want to get deep into some of this work. And I want you to understand this can happen to you too. Think about what your life would be like at $100,000 months. Sure, it would change a lot. So when I started working with that coach, there were 2 things she told me. The first thing that she told me was that I had a self-image problem. Now, I didn't resonate with that at the time. I'm going to be fully honest with everyone. I was a pretty confident person. And so I didn't get it. I was like, what are you talking about? I'm confident. I do the thing. I do the thing is what I would always say. But here's the truth. She was right. There was some narrative, some image that I held of myself that wasn't in alignment with the life that I wanted. And this is everything. I want everyone to ask themselves this question right now. If you do happen to have like a notebook or something, I would write it down. Sit with this question, please. What is the story that you are telling yourself about yourself? What is the story you are telling yourself about your success? What is the story you are telling yourself about your results? About money, about relationships? What are the stories that are running the show? Sit with that. The truth of your results lies in the stories that you're telling yourself. So at first, when that coach said I had a self-image problem, as I told you, I didn't really believe it at first. But as we got into it, and she asked me a couple questions and we started digging in, something came up. I realized that because I was young, I didn't think people would take me seriously. I had another one. I didn't think I had enough experience for people to take me seriously. So at first, I didn't think I had a self-image problem. Then I realized I was looking at myself as inexperienced and not ready for the kind of success that I wanted, not worthy of the kind of success that I wanted. And this was showing up without me realizing in how I actually held myself in the world. Now, here's what's interesting. They've actually proven that only 7% of communication is verbal. 7%. 7% of communication is verbal. So here's the thing. I was making 100 cold calls a day back then. 100 cold calls in a day. And even though I had this script and I was saying all the right things, the same thing that the person making 500 grand a year was saying, and I could barely pay my rent, I was saying the same thing. Couldn't even make a deal. Couldn't even make a meeting. Why? Because people were picking up what I subconsciously believed about myself. If only 7% of communication is verbal, what's the other 93%? Your energy. It shows up in your tone, your posture, your conviction. And what are these all a product of? They're all a product of your stories, who you believe yourself to be. So it doesn't matter if you have the perfect strategy or the right thing to say. The energy behind the actions is what matters. Who you believe yourself to be is what matters. That's what moves the needle. Now, I started to get a little bit freaked out from this, if I'm being honest, and I want everyone to sit with this for a second. I had never stopped and consciously thought about who I wanted to be. I never created the character. So if I didn't create the character, what was my self-image produced from? It wasn't me. And I started freaking out about all this stuff. Well, who is Adam? Because here's the thing, my name was given to me. I didn't choose my name. My name was given to me. I didn't choose who I believed myself to be, any of it. I'd picked it up through my experiences, through my entire upbringing. And this wasn't just with who I believed myself to be, all of my narratives. This is what consists of your paradigm. If you don't know the word paradigm, your programming. And that lives in your subconscious mind. So they have actually proven that by the ages of 25 to 30, your brain develops to a certain point where 95% of the thoughts that you think on a day-to-day basis are the same as the day before. 95%. Just think about that. So if you need to actually condition in a new way of being, what's the current way of being? And this paradigm is running every single thing in your life. I want you to just think about this. Everyone on this call has a slightly different understanding, belief about what a lot of money is versus a little. Everyone has emotionalized a different definition of success, of what's possible, of what's realistic. Do you know how many times I have people say, I need to be realistic? Well, what do you define realistic as? One thing that I had to redefine for myself was responsible. Because I thought I had to be responsible with my money. That's why I didn't pay the coach at first. I don't have that money in my account. I have to be responsible. Well, to me, I started to sit with it. Maybe it's more irresponsible to not go after what I really love, to not live a life that I actually love, to build a life where you can live in Bali instead of wherever if you want to live in Bali. What's more irresponsible? And so I started to craft and cultivate a self image of the kind of person who produces that life that I want. When I tripled my income in real estate, the only thing that I did was I started to believe in me first, that I was the kind of person that did tens of millions of dollars of real estate sales every single month like it was nothing. And guess what? When I started to believe that first, it started showing in my attitude, my behaviors. And when my attitude, my behavior, my energy changed, people just wanted to work with me. You know that when I tripled my income, just listen to this. When I tripled my income, I started doing only 10 calls a day instead of 100 calls a day. So 1/10 of the output. But I was booking meetings with at least 3 of those people from those 10 calls before, maybe one person from 100 calls, all from changing who I believed myself to be. This lesson has carried with me along everything, even in coaching. You know, when I first went and I would speak on stages, I'd go and I'd speak on a stage and I'd have a ton of people coming up to me who needed saving, if you want to think of it like that. I started changing who I believed myself to be to working with ambitious people, high level people. And I would go and give a speech and I'd speak on a stage and I'd give a very similar speech, very similar crowd. Guess what? When I started to believe, change who I actually served, who I believed myself to be as a coach and as a speaker, different people would come up to me after. No longer people who needed saving, people who were ambitious and just wanted the next level. You know, now, when I go speak on stages, a good amount of the people who come up and talk to me after are millionaires. Because I started inputting a narrative in my mind. I help millionaires. So most of my one-on-one clients, millionaires. Some of them tens of millions of net worth, over $10 million net worths for my one-on-one clients. And that all started with who I believed myself to be. So take that with you. I want you to redefine this for yourself. After this call, I want you to sit down and write out the character traits. Write out how you hold yourself. Write out who you are as your goal achieved self, as the person who's producing the kind of income that you want. And then start to embody that person. Start to show up as that person as if you already have it. And that is how you will attract the right people. Now, the second thing that coach told me, and as I said on this call, I actually want you to take these things and run with them. I want you to change right on this call. So the first thing that coach told me was a self-image problem. We just went deep in the self-image. What's the second thing that coach told me? The second thing that coach told me was that my goal was too small. There wasn't an emotional charge in it. It didn't matter enough to make me change as a person. Now, at the time when I was starting to work with that coach, my goal was to double my income. So I thought that was a lot of money. I thought if I make double the amount of income, I'm good. That's it. I'll live the life at double the income. She said it was too small. Now, just think about this. This coach was trying to get me to 5 to 10x my income. Okay. And she said she would help me do it. She was going to show me how to 10x my income. And I was fighting her on it. I was like, no, 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 that's too much. Too much? What? Why? You guys are negotiating with yourself all the time in the same way without even realizing it. Why would I, like, let's just think about this for a second. Why would I actually try and argue with the coach on making smaller income than bigger income? Because I had narratives tied to what I thought a 10x goal required. I had narratives about money. I had paradigm problems about all these things. I thought 10x the income meant 10x the work. I thought I can't do 10x the work. I'm working so hard already. No, that's not how it works. So it's never the goal that stresses you out. This is what I want people to understand. When they start to think about setting a bigger goal, they think they get stressed out by the goal. It's not the goal that stresses you out, it's your paradigm around how you achieve goals. It's your programming tied to how you make money. You know, my $500,000 a month, you know what it includes? Making $500,000 a month while working half as much as I do now. Is that possible? 100%. So setting a 10x goal can be relaxing instead of stressful if you start to realize what those narratives are tied to money, tied to achievement, and actually go through the conditioning process, which we'll get to some of that in a second, to change it. So after arguing with this coach, she says, set a 5x goal, 10x goal. I say, no, 2x is too much already. We argue, we land on 3x. As I said, how long did it take me? It took me 8 months. I hit that 3x goal in 8 months. What do you think I said when I hit that goal? Damn, I should have set a bigger goal. Right? And it was easy. You can actually triple your income and have it feel easier than before. My clients tell me all the time. I helped someone last year. They were making like 10 grand a month, I think, when I met them. After the first 6 months of us working together, they were making over 50 grand a month. Okay. You know what they said? They said making 50 grand a month through the methods that we learned here feels far easier than when I was making 10 grand a month. Can it be easy? I believe it can. Whether you believe it can or can't, you're right. It's totally up to your beliefs. So this is what I want everybody to do. I want everyone on this call to redefine a new goal for yourself. And I'm going to actually walk you through a goal framework right now, how to set a proper goal. So Bob Proctor, I'm so lucky I got to work under the Proctor Gallagher Institute. I took a bunch of programs and stuff through them back in the day before he passed away, like I said. And there's this framework that he set that changed everything for me, because I didn't know how to set a proper goal at the time. And so there's 3 kinds of goals. There's A goals, B goals, and C goals. So A goals are the kind of goals where technically you've done it before. So if you want to think of an A goal, he would use the example of a car. I drive a Mercedes Benz. Let's say I want a new Mercedes Benz. I set a goal to get a new one. I know it's new, but technically I've done that before. I see a lot of other people set these kind of goals. A different mentor of mine put it in terms of maintenance goals. Well, I made 100 grand last year. I just want to keep making that 100 grand. I'll just keep making that. Here's the problem with that goal. Everything in the universe, a universal law, even if you look at anything, everything is either growing or disintegrating. It's how everything works. Even in a logical sense, if you made 100 grand last year and you want to make 100 grand again this year, guess what? Your $100,000 is worth less. Doesn't have the same buying power day by day by day. I'm not trying to scare you. It's the reality of it. We've got to be real about this. I have a client who came to me. She's been making $250,000 for either 15 or 20 years in a row. She told me when she started making $250,000, it was life-changing 20 years ago. Feels very different, that same $250,000 now. So we've got to set a goal that actually moves the needle towards something else that requires us to grow. So we do not set A goals. The next kind of goal that you set is a B goal. A B goal is the kind of goal, one mentor of mine put them in terms of addition goals. Bob Proctor would say that a B goal is the kind of goal where you can logically see how you would be able to make that happen. So to my client who made 250 grand a year, okay, I get we have to set bigger goals. Well, I made 250 last year. What if I do 250 plus another 50 grand? So an addition goal. So I'll make 300 grand this year. Here's the problem with that. If you're not setting a big enough goal, it's not going to require you to change who you believe yourself to be. And it's not going to require you to change your way of thinking to hit it. Going from 250 grand to 300 grand, you could just work a little bit harder. At least that's what you can mentally tell yourself. So it's not actually requiring you to change how you operate as a person. It's still that linear thinking. And we've got to get away from that. So addition goals, B goals, we do not set. This is the kind of goal everyone I want to set. I want everyone in this room to set a C goal. Okay? A C goal is a stretch goal, if you've ever heard of that. A C goal is a multiplication goal. Now I'm going to go a little further here with you guys here because I really do want to give you everything. A multiplication goal is awesome. As we talked about with my coach, she didn't even want me setting a 2x goal. Now, I don't know if anyone's heard the book by Benjamin Hardy and Dan Sullivan. It's called 10x is easier than 2x. Okay? I want you to just sit with even the title. Just think of the name. 10x is easier than 2x. It's pretty interesting. So, if that's true, which I wholeheartedly believe and have proven it is, you need to set not just a multiplication goal, a big stretch multiplication goal. I say minimum 5x up to 12x. Between 5 and 12x your income within a year. That's the kind of goal that I want you to set. And here's the thing. It will require you to grow as a person to be able to hit that. And you need to actually, this is the key to it. You have to infuse enough meaning, enough emotion into that goal that you don't just let it go the moment that something hard happens. You've got to stick to it. You've got to commit to it for a certain period of time. So I'm going to give you an example here. When I was going for an $100,000 a month goal for the first time, it's not just about $100,000 a month. Like, let's get real. Money for money's sake. What is it? Right? Can't just go money for money's sake. So what does that mean, that amount of money for you? That's what I want you to ask. What does that mean for your life, for your family? $100,000 a month, when I had first set that goal, that was a representation of the level of service I was providing. That changed my family's life, the trajectory of my family. It changed the level I could serve at because more resources meant I could serve in greater ways. Me and my wife bring groceries to people in our community. There was a lot of incredible ways I wanted to give back. There was meaning behind it. Now, you better believe when I started hitting those $100,000 months, I had checked off a lot of the lifestyle things in my life. That was part of the meaning for me too, right? I wanted freedom. I wanted to be able to travel the world. I wanted to be able to not work a 9 to 5 job that sucked my soul. And so when I was making $100,000 a month, I had, first class flights wherever I want, had the freedom, right? I was making an impact in the ways I wanted. It checked a lot of those things. So you better believe when I set a $500,000 a month goal, it required me to condition in a new meaning. It had to mean more than the $100,000 because it's so easy to just be comfortable, isn't it? You've got to infuse meaning into these things. You have to do it. Now, here's the thing. Please, first of all, write this down. Set that big goal. Okay? After this call, sit down and write your C goal. And what I want you to do is I want you to commit to it for a certain period of time. So I'm going to show you what I do. This is called a goal card. Okay? I actually keep it outside my wallet. So every single time I go to touch my wallet, it's outside of it. I touch it. And it's a trigger to me. Every single time I touch this goal card, I am reminded of who I am, that self-image I consciously created. Now, your goal card is going to have a date. Okay, mine's September 30th, 2026. And it says, I'm so happy and grateful now that, and then you write out your goal. Because what you have to do is you have to condition yourself to that you already are that person. So I'm so grateful now that I make $500,000 a month. And for that period of time on that goal card, you have to commit to just conditioning your mind to showing up as that person, to assuming the feeling of being that person already. No negotiations. You show up as that person every single day. This is what I want you to do after this call. Okay? Sit down and write that goal. Now, here's what's going to happen for you. The subconscious mind is what holds all our paradigms, all our narratives, all our beliefs. And that's what's producing everything in your life. So it's not just like mindset work. It's like deep inner subconscious work. It is shifting the nervous system to be able to actually hold that level of money, to expect that amount of money, to expect that you're going to transform someone's life as a coach, to hold the energy of that goal achieved self. You've got to condition your subconscious mind and nervous system to that so that it holds it automatically. This is where everyone's internal thermostat comes from. Everyone has this internal thermostat, even with money. So if you think of a thermostat, think of this. Everyone has this with money. You make 10 grand a month. Every time that thermostat goes up, maybe you go 12, 15 grand a month, what happens? Pulls it back down to that number that it's set at. You get uncomfortable, pulls it back down. What happens when it goes under? 10 grand is what you're used to. You go to 5 grand to 4 grand. You get so uncomfortable that thermostat pulls you back. So we have to do that inner subconscious rewiring to change the thermostat. You know that once upon a time, that thermostat was set at like 5 grand a month for me. Maybe it was 4 or 3 grand a month actually. I couldn't make more. Every time I made more, it pulled me back down. I would self sabotage without realizing it. Something would always happen. Here's the cool part though. When you change that internal thermostat, it works both ways. So, $100,000 a month at one point was scary to me. I would self sabotage on my way there, all that stuff. Once the thermostat was there, like if I were to make under $100,000 a month these days, I'd be incredibly uncomfortable. It would pull me back because that's the new baseline that I've set. And this is how it works even with your subconscious mind. Has anyone heard of the reticular activating system before? The RAS, reticular activating system. Something in your subconscious mind that is always looking for proof of what you have given it. So if you tell yourself every day, you write this goal card and you tell yourself you're a $100,000 a month person, there's a deeper conditioning process to get it in there. I'm going to be honest. It's not just telling yourself that every day. There's more to it. But if you start doing that deep reconditioning process, your mind is going to look for proof that you are that person. What does that mean? It's going to identify the opportunities that get you to $100,000 a month. What do you think your reticular activating system is proving to you right now? If you are in a place of scarcity in your life, the reticular activating system is going to show you all the reasons why you should be in scarcity. The reticular activating system will look for all the reasons why things are not working out for you, if it's what your narratives in there are saying. Versus if you actually condition in what I consider, what I call a money consciousness. If you learn to do the deep subconscious rewiring work to condition yourself to a world of limitless possibilities, of opportunity, your mind will automatically identify and create the kind of conditions required for you to produce that result. It will look for the opportunities. It will find the money because you've conditioned it to do it automatically. Okay? So, what I want everyone to do is sit down with the things that I talked about before. Like I said, I want everyone to create that goal. Create a big goal. Oh, here we are. I want everyone to create a big goal. And I want you to start reconditioning your mind to that. Create a self-image that produces the kind of results that you want and start to embody that self-image. Now, if anyone has any questions, we're pretty active on Instagram. Feel free to shoot me a message on Instagram. Okay, I'm happy to answer them. Usually I would do a guided visualization. I do have to run because we mixed up some times and I have a meeting now. But what I'm going to do is I just dropped my Instagram in the chat there. It's my name. It's just at Adam of Venus. If anyone wants, just let me know you're on Scott's meeting in specific, and we're happy to send over a free visualization for you to do. Okay, you could do it on your own time. And if anyone has any questions, of course, reach out to me.
Okay. Yeah, you are also in the community, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Exactly.
There you go. Well, thank you so much, Scott. Thank you for everyone.
Thank you.
Thank yourselves too, honestly, for showing up and being, committed to changing your lives. And trust me when I say that anything is possible.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Adam.
Thanks, Scott. Take care, everyone.
Take care, Adam. So that was our call for today. Thank you so much, guys, for being here. It has been an amazing experience, and you guys feel free to reach out here on school in our community to Adam or through his Instagram, or you can just ask him also his Instagram there on the school chat. And we will be talking more about this on our next call next Saturday. So, guys, I want to see what are the goals that you have set for yourself, and we're going to discuss and do an exercise to break limiting beliefs that I'm going to bring to you on our next call. And I'm looking forward to it because it's going to be fucking amazing. So, that has been it for today. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Leah, for organizing all of these and making so much work to actually bring everybody into this call today. And like I always say, boys, delusion backed up just by words is a solution, but delusion backed up by relentless action, that's called faith, brother. Remember, duty, honor, and pride. I'll see you on the next one.
Thank you, Scott. Bye.